Thank you so very much for elaborating on these aspects of prayers that we should incorporate in our Catholic schools. Indeed, prayer is the cornerstone, right, of our
Come.
educational system. But then, the conventional perception of prayer, it revolves around verbal communication with God, right? But prayer isn't just about words, it's also about reflection and meditation. So, how do you
Exactly.
perceive the influence of meditation and reflection on the academic pursuit and overall well being of our students?
Yeah, very, very important. Very, very important. In fact, like you said, you the contemporary understanding of prayer, sorry to say this, is just limiting prayer only to verbal communication. Catholic, the Catholic understand that we have different, types of prayer. Prayer doesn't end only with verbal communication, what they call vocal prayer, what they call vocab. No. So meditation, contemplation, reflection, it will help the student to gather them together. The mind needs to be gathered together. A recollective mind, a serene mind is a wonderful ground, a fertile ground for academic excellence. It helps the student when the student is studying, it will be very easy to comprehend, to assimilate, learning materials because the mind is already formed, to contemplate, to articulate ideas. But this idea of maybe every time it is about, sometimes the mind is distracted. Yes, vocal prayer is also good. Nobody is doubting that. But, making it, as what we are seeing in our world today, every minute, every time, people are just shouting. That is not the only, I've written something in the past about that, trying to highlight different aspects of prayer, I've also taught in one of the topics we had in the classroom, exposing the students to different other aspects of prayer. But like you said, meditation in contemplation and meditation, the mind is disposed. And when it becomes, a developed habit, then it will be very easy, very, very easy to study and to understand and to retain. Yeah, very important. It helps a lot. It helps.
Great. I mean, Father, your insights into the transformative power of meditation and reflection are truly enlightening. Uh, Shifting our focus to parental involvement, you and I are aware that in our African tradition, right, the community contributes to the upbringing of the children, right, through shared responsibilities because everyone is seen as an extended family, not only the parents
Yeah.
of the children. But nowadays, there is a kind of a noticeable trend, where even parents have shifted the responsibility for training their children to be predominantly confined to school. How do you see the role of parents evolving in nurturing their children's spiritual development within the Catholic school community?
Yeah, it is a very wrong understanding to shift every aspect of the child's development to the Catholic school. No. Parents, they have also significant roles to play, beginning from the earliest years of the child. One of our priests now, late Monsignor Luke Elon, he wrote in one of his publications, uh, The Burdens of Life, one of his publications entitled The Burdens of Life. There he shared a very interesting story. He said that a woman, went to a psychologist, and then asked this psychologist, at what point should I begin to to instruct my child, my newly born child? And the psychologist asked her, how old is the child? He said, a year old. And the psychologist, according to late Monsignor Lugilon, told the woman, please rush back home. You are already a year late.
That is interesting.
Yes, you are already 1 year late in the formation of the child. Some parents, they think that they have little or no work to do as regards the formation of their children. They will just want to shift everything to the school. And a teacher once told me, shared with me what a parent did. He contacted one of the teachers in the school where the child was attending and said, please, even if it will be possible, I will give you more money during holiday. Let the child stay with you. Can you imagine that? You know, just people trying to shift responsibility, and it is very bad.
It
And
is.
this is just what we are seeing in our world today. It's very bad. Parents, the church is very clear, on the role of parents, on their children. Very, very clear. Who talks about family catechesis these days? Gone are days when go and if you read the life of the saints, some of these saints, they learned about God and everything about from their home, from their home. Look at the three shepherds of Fatima, Lucy, Francisco, and Jacinta. They were brought up, in a very Christian, home that they already had the disposition, that is required of a young Christian child, before eventually they had the opportunity of that apparition. Parents, they have a lot of work to do, and they shouldn't, shift the whole responsibility. And sometimes you discover that when children come to school, you see a number of them are just raw, very raw. And I also have the privilege of also extending such to, faith formation. I teach, like you said earlier, I teach catechism very well, and I love doing it. In fact, I wrote my thesis in theology on catechesis. So when, for example, before I was ordained a priest, when I go on apostolic work and encounter young children who come for catechism, a number of them are just raw. It gives us the impression that parents are not doing their work. You see somebody maybe in primary six or even JS1, JS2, JS3. The person cannot even say the basic prayers of the Catholic Church. The very basic, beginning from in the name of the Father, Hail Mary, and all that. Even the person can say, prayer, grace before and after meals. So these are some of the things that parents need to do from home, so that as the child is coming out from home, encountering the church, maybe for catechism or going to school, the child he has already gotten the foundation, the basics, so that the teachers will now begin to build on this foundation, and it will be easier for them. But when the child is just raw, the parents abandon the child, they are just running helter-skelter, after every other concern. And sometimes they leave this child in the hand of maids, So it's a very big problem, because look at my own argument as regards this. These parents who abandon their children are running helter-skelter. If eventually they have gathered all, whatever they are running, whether to make money and all that, and they come back only to discover that these children that were abandoned and they supposedly for their sake, they were running up and down, they have all wasted away. I mean, they have become useless. So who will manage this thing that they have been running up and down gathering? That's why you see sometimes after everything, some parents, they end up discovering that their children have wasted, and they will only do what? They destroy whatever they have accumulated. So parental formation of children is very, very important. Even not only when they come to school, as they come to school, when after the school hour, or for those who are boarders, when they go back home, parents shouldn't just leave them. They should also accompany them, follow them up. It's very, very important. Very, very important. Yeah.
Great, great. Honestly, your emphasis on the collaborative efforts of parents as primary educators is truly commendable, Father. Yes, our parents have indeed a huge role to play. Thank you for all of that. But before we wrap up, Father David, What advice will you offer to policymakers, administrators, Catholic school managers, teachers, and parents involved in Catholic school education? Because we are all stakeholders, right?
Yeah, yeah. Is they really need to understand that Catholic education is one of the missions of the church, one missionary activities of the church. So our own understanding of education, as Catholics, is not and should not be profit oriented. Is not and should not be profit oriented. We are in for missionary work. Yes, of course, we have remuneration and all that, but that shouldn't be our primary concern. Our primary concern should be the holistic formation of these children because they are the future of the church and the society. The future of the church and the society. When we fail, in being conscious of this very fact that Catholic education is holistic, is developmental, is social, and most importantly, teleological. It is geared towards God. It is geared towards attainment of heaven. It's not just about accumulation of maybe worldly knowledge. No, worldly knowledge that will be able to lead to the development of the person, to the development and of the church, the society, and eventually lead the person to God. That is what we understand the Catholic schools and Catholic education to be. And so these managers, teachers, policymakers, and all that, as regards Catholic schools, should be conscious of this, and they should ensure that these things play out in the day-to-day activities of Catholic schools. And where they are not visible in some schools, those who are saddled with the responsibility of coordinating, Catholic, because if you go to every diocese, we have the person who is in charge of education, education commission, should be able to ensure that these things are playing out. And in schools that where they are not playing out, they should be able to call to order the manager, and where the person is not ready to cue into the very essence of Catholic school, the person should be changed. The person should be changed, instead of watering down the missionary intent of the church. Because if we fail in our educational system, we have failed because these people will now eventually come up tomorrow to be in the church, both as lay people and as priests and the religious, and then they will also be in the society, in the governmental positions, So when we fail in carrying out this basic foundation of the formation of this young man, then our society will eventually fail and our church will eventually fail. So it's a very serious task that we mustn't joke with at all. We mustn't joke with that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so very much, Father. Your words of wisdom resonate deeply. I mean, on behalf of our listeners and myself, I extend heartfelt gratitude for your invaluable contributions to this conversation. I pray your insight inspire positive change within our Catholic educational institutions. Thank you so very much, Father.
Thank you, sister. I'm very grateful for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, and God bless you.
Yes, and then to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Let's Keep Our Education Catholic. Remember, by nurturing a vibrant prayer culture within our Catholic schools, we uphold the sanctity of our Catholic heritage and empower future generations to embrace their faith with conviction. Until next time, stay blessed and let's continue to keep our education Catholic.
Yeah.